Hello and welcome. This is Israel Lopez, and in this video, we're reviewing Fishbowl 2015.7 Warehouse and Manufacturing Release Highlights. I have to begin with an apology. I'm so sorry that this video is 12 days late. Fishbowl was released 12 days ago for 2015.7, and I just now am getting around to reviewing it. But I do have a good reason. I was on vacation. I was in Peru. I was actually in the great city, lost city of the Incas, Machu Picchu, and I had a great time despite me getting sick and feeling terrible. Actually, even taking the time out and writing some SQL queries for people on the Facebook group because I couldn't do anything. I was stuck in bed. But I'm back now. We're going to be doing some great things here now that I'm back. And let's begin with the review. Actually, no. I have a public service announcement. I really want all of you who are watching this video to really consider upgrading. Every time we have upgraded with Fishbowl inventory, there has been enormous benefits to upgrading. We've had improved QuickBooks exporting, we've got improved memory use and processing speed and stability, and they've also included more tracing and troubleshooting information for the developers to know. So even though you may not like the version that you are now on, upgrading and you've had no issues. That's the other thing that I've heard a lot of people say. I have no issues. I don't want to upgrade. I don't want to cause more problems. When you do have problems, you're really keeping the developers with less information to work with because they don't have the improved tracing and troubleshooting information available. So please remember that we've got improved QuickBooks exporting, improved memory use and processing speed and stability, improved tracing and troubleshooting, which overall saves time and saves you money. You know, that old adage saying, save me time, save me money, or prevent me from spending money. Anyway, let's get into the review. So the highlights is really interesting now. We've got some new additions to Fishbowl, add-ons. We've got the forecast module to talk about. We've got some changes in picking. We've got some small, what I call workflow functionality that we can work with now in the auto dropship and PO situation. They're adding more and more checks to allow you to see if you're current on your support contract. And last review, we saw some updates to whether you have the ability to upgrade to the latest version. That's fantastic as well. And we've got some changes in the sales order costs. And finally, again, we've got 17 fixes to talk about. I'm actually going to review about 4 or 5 of them just to kind of iterate what's going on so you're aware that these issues are fixed so that you do take advantage of the new fixes in 2015.7. Okay, forecast module. From the marketing collateral that I kind of pieced together from the email blast that my customers had sent me, should we upgrade? And I noticed that the forecast module is here. I heard about the forecast module through inside sources for a while. Now I'm glad to see that it came out of the woodwork. So here's what it can do. It's designed to give you a historical data review and then estimate future demand. And you can view that by the quantities of units being utilized, sales dollars, cost dollars, or currency. And finally, you can filter that information and kind of sort it by part, location group, and date ranges. And you can review the analysis by the data tables that it gives you, so you can export that to Excel or work with it that way, or view the graphs, and that kind of gives you the trend lines. To be honest, from what I see here, just from the marketing collateral, it's not much better than what you can do with Excel. However, it is better, and I'll explain that later when we get into it. So I've got actually a e-commerce company that I've redacted all the information on here. I noticed that when I was going through this initial review a couple of days ago, over the weekend actually, that there was really no good way to run the Bicycles Unlimited database using the new forecast module. I asked Fishbowl for a review copy, and they were very helpful with providing one, and I was going to give them a fair shake on the review. So I noticed that even though that Bicycles Unlimited will work on the forecast module, it just doesn't have enough history. You actually have to run this with a company's database. And that was really bad for me because, hey, it's customer's database. I don't want to show that to the world. But what I did instead was I redacted a lot of the information. I renamed items and descriptions and location groups and company names and went pretty far as I can to rename everything so that it's very, very clear. So here's the forecast module, and I've already kind of run a forecast using a popular item that this particular company had. Remember, I've randomized the part numbers so that nobody can figure it out. What I did was I run item number 1. I gave it a formula and a date ranges, and I just wanted to see what could happen. So here's essentially what's going on. We're displaying sales dollar data against part number 1, against all location groups, and we're combining them here. And then we're running a formula for the forecasting. And in this case, I'm using linear regression, meaning I'm fitting a line to the I guess you could say the mean average of the and the direction of where the inventory is going. I've set a 0 growth pattern for that. Maybe I know what's going on in the next year. Who knows? Maybe I can add that. And I've specified my reference date. Reference date means what's going on in the past, and forecast date is going to be what's going to happen in the future. Kind of give you some extrapolation wiggle room there. And the chart gives you the option of running by line graph or accumulation or scatter plot, meaning a line graph without any lines, or accumulation just kind of keeps adding to the total. And you can group I would actually kind of wouldn't call it group by, I'd probably call it bucket by. Bucket the inventory or sales data, forecasting data by either day, week, month, or year. So from what we can see here, there's a lot to work with, but at the same time, there's not a lot to work with. And I think that's probably going to be a bit of a disappointment for people coming out the door. But to be honest, if I made this module, it'd be the same thing. You know, I know a lot of people have been complaining, or maybe voicing some frustration about Fishbowl's new module process, and they're charging money for this. Remember, this is the first shake at it, and it deserves a good rundown like I'm doing here. So I think this is a lot better in terms of a speed to analysis process. So you can actually make this a lot more interactive for a lot of companies by using this module rather than setting all the data to Excel. Hopefully you've got the right graphs set up the right way, and you can see how this saves a lot of time. I mean, for goodness sake, I can add growth here, and I'm going to add the 10% growth just because I want to show that to you. And I'm going to run the analysis again. Now, this company is a very big company. Actually, they do a lot of units, and this is just one item that they're working with. And you can see how fast, or maybe how fast my computer is. And so there you go. So I've added the 10%, and it's increased its quantity information or data information by that much. So you can see that we've got by 7/21/16, we should have about $3,253 in sales. At the beginning, we started with $2,583. So something like that. You get what I'm getting at. Other things you can do is export the chart data, so you can kind of see what's going on, and you can see what it's really doing. So up until right at the end, this is all the data that we've got bucketed by what we're looking at, and then the raw data indicating the transactions, location groups, quantity used, total sales, and things like that. You can also run this by location group, but I don't actually recommend it for customers who have more than, probably 10,000 items, because it might take a long time. I did that earlier. It took a long time, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. This company has a lot of warehouses. So I probably could pick a small one, but I won't do that for this video. But that's the forecast module. Again, I think that we should definitely help Fishbowl by saying either we like this or we don't like certain things. My opinions, I guess you could give it real quick. I want filtering by vendor, so I can run POs through this. I want to group by product tree, so I can do all my brake cables or my bike parts or whatever. I kind of want to maybe forecast by that. I want to forecast based on the sales location of the U.S. Maybe I want to select by zip codes or state codes or by regions or what have you. Or maybe I want to filter the kind of data that I'm looking for in terms of custom fields on the sales order, stuff like that. And I also want to maybe even forecast not just a flat number, but I want to include future booked sales, future booked POs, which it currently doesn't do. I wish it did that, but I understand why. I mean, you got to start from somewhere. And I'd like to be able to do actual versus forecasted numbers and save that data somewhere in a system to actually, compare whether our modeling is working or whether we need to tweak it or, whatever. But these are what I would consider features that a really expensive forecast module will have. Like I would be saying that a forecast module like that would cost probably 2 or 3 times the average price of a Fishbowl user. That is very advanced stuff. That is very ERP level stuff, which I think Fishbowl will get to. But humble beginnings right now, definitely worth a fair assessment. And I'm happy to give Fishbowl a fair shake on this particular module, even though that I also feel that it should be part of the module. But at the same time, if I built it, again, I'd be charging my customers for it. So it's got to start from somewhere. This is a good start. Okay, and that's the forecast module. Okay, we're going to be going into the other updates now. I'm going to pause here because I have to switch back to Bicycles Unlimited because I don't want to show off my other customer's database accidentally. Okay, and we're back. So what we're going to do is start going into the other updates that we were talking about. That's fixes, oops. And we're going to talk about some of the changes that we've got real quickly in Fishbowl. First thing, we've got a new memo module inside of PIC, which I didn't anticipate, actually. I know I always wanted one. I've asked for it before, but I'm glad that it's here. I'm not going to complain. It is definitely a good spot for a lot of people to communicate about the picking of inventory, because I know sometimes that's a big deal for a lot of companies, especially if tracking. I know some companies, that's their biggest deal. That's their biggest value add is the level of tracking that they can provide to their customers and selection of inventory down to, color batch, donor information, stuff like that. Anyway, so we've got memo module, and now we can use that for reports and process flow, and I'm glad for that. And what we're going to be looking at now is a new module option inside of sales order. And I believe this is in sales order. It could be in PO. I think it's in PO. There you go. Automatically issue dropship orders. Now that's very helpful. But remember, it doesn't automatically email out of Fishbowl. It's never done that. But it does help alleviate a process or some confusion that people have about inventory demand planning and things like that. I've seen a lot of companies, they will issue a dropship line item, forget that it needs to be issued, and then they end up creating another purchase order, so you end up having two. I thought you could probably find it through this menu option, but I've always been surprised. It's okay. Now we can kind of circumvent that process and improve, cut out an additional step, which saves time and money, and everyone loves that. Another thing that they've done is added the ability to renew or review your support contract information in the top left corner. And since this is the trial version of Fishbowl, I don't have that. That will just be sitting right there indicating to you if you have their support or not. And that is fantastic because now I can ask customers real quickly, click on that icon. Do you have support? Yes, go call Fishbowl, which is definitely helpful because I, as a consultant, I got to figure out, what do they have? What do they do? And now this has saved a lot of time and a lot of phone calls that I think Fishbowl would also appreciate not having to have to. I mean, I love Fishbowl, but I'm sure they're getting sick and tired of me of saying, does customer X have support? Does customer have Y have maintenance? It's not the most valuable thing of time. Another thing that they've also done is improve the last vendor cost information in a sales order. And that is through that new markup module that they've added. And I'll show you where that is if you've forgotten. It's right there. Show markup on sales order. Remember, that's also controlled by access rights and things like that. But what was happening in the past was that you had items on the sales order that we may have never purchased from a vendor before, or we have no inventory data or no costing data at all for an item. So what is the cost? Therefore, what is the margin? 100%? Nope. If we have now vendor cost data inside the vendor module, real quickly, we'll be able to use that data if we happen to have no inventory or costing data for an item, and then we'll be able to still use the margin module that we've added to the sales order. And that's about it for the new highlights of features in Fishbowl. We need to talk about some of the new fixes that they've got going on. So one of the fixes that they really improved, which is the Linux installer. Now, a lot of you may not understand what Linux is, but that is the predominantly cloud-based operating system. Not cloud-based, but the operating system that the cloud runs on. And that's very important. Fishbowl's improving that. I actually asked for this, actually reported this a couple times, and I'm glad that they've got around to fixing this. And woohoo! But they're definitely emphasizing that you can install Fishbowl on Linux now. I wouldn't say they're supporting it immediately, but it's definitely, they're fixing bugs, and that's always good. One of the things that I noticed previously was the API quick ship request will miss miscellaneous sales, and that's fixed now. So, and it missed miscellaneous sales when you did not have any other items on there, so you're just selling something for the sake of selling it. Doesn't happen all that often, but it has happened with me a couple times, and I was surprised to see that was the cause, and that's fine. Other things that we've got better messages for when you've got customer and vendor information, vendor name information conflicting and therefore duplicate, so you got a better warning message for that. And finally, I'll be really quick here. They're fixing a lot of pick finishing issues that we've noticed in the past versions. Actually, I've had a customer who upgraded from 2014 to 2015 under my behest, honestly. And we've had a load of issues that we've never had before, and we're finding what the cause is. Some of the nuance with how Fishbowl operates picks, sometimes by right-clicking, sometimes by having a pick open in two places, or having a pick open and then you change the inventory data below that and you start finishing it. There's 4 or 5 kind of generic scenarios where that happens if you got too many things going on at the same time. You'll end up effectively finishing a pick twice, and Fishbowl's fixing that. Not all of it, I know, but remember, this was almost 2 weeks ago. We're just now figuring this out. 2 weeks ago, they fixed out some of the issues in 2015.7. I'm really glad for that. Another issue that I got really tripped up on with a customer on 2015.6 was tracking quantity fields were really wonky. I had a customer who tracks the packaging information down to the item. They sell, I guess you could say, loose leaf tea, and how each item is packaged is really important because they sell by pound, but they also want to track how many packages are being sent out. So the tracking quantity for them is very important, also important to their customer. So having that messed up was a really big deal. It was really bad, but I'm glad that 2015.7 has resolved that, and we're better off for it. And that's it. That's all I've got. I've kept this short, under 20 minutes. I know it's been a long one. We talked a lot about modules, forecast module. But again, I also want to invite anybody to fbusergroup.com, our unofficial Fishbowl user group. We've got a lot of great discussions there about Fishbowl and reports and queries and things like that. I'd really enjoy to see you there. That's it. Take care and have a good day.